So Karen Reed's retrial started today, so let's go ahead and jump into it because it's already a lot. So before they could even get started, there were two issues that they needed to address. The Commonwealth wanted the defense not to say anything about ARCA. Auntie Bev was like, oh, we don't have time to go into that, so I'm just gonna tell y'all not to talk about them. And they were like, wait a minute, ma'am, hold on, we can't say nothing about them. And so she was like, no, I don't have time to talk about this. And they was like, can we please respectfully talk about this? So of course they went to a sidebar, and they did not mention them in their opening. The Commonwealth's experts, they used that term instead of saying ARCA, so they got around it by that way. That should not have been stated. They should have been able to say ARCA in their opening. Anyway, so the Commonwealth did not want the defense to use any pictures of John O'Keefe because they wanted to use a picture of his arm in their opening, and they were trying to say, oh, well, we decided that we can't do any mentioning of the third party culprit as the person for this actual crime. That is not why they used the picture, and they are well aware that they could not use that in their, their opening. They just used that picture to show these are the wounds that he had, not to go on some tangent about a third-party culprit. Waste of time. It's too early for that, okay? It's too early. And then I also heard that somebody got arrested outside in the, area that's out there for those people, and they said that they didn't give him time to move, and they just started arresting him. So too many shenanigans before we even get started. Opening statements by Hank Breenan. Child, that man was so boring. He was all over the place, number one. Number two, he was making up stuff. Number three, he lucky I had so much to do to still get ready. Otherwise, I probably would have been asleep because he was so boring. He decided to stand directly in front of the jury, so he didn't have a mic. So it was very hard to hear some of the stuff that he was saying. And to me, personally, personal opinion, if you know we are recording you and this is being televised, you should have a mic. You're being very inconsiderate, because usually, even though the courtroom is in the smaller one and it's not in the bigger one, there are still people inside of the courtroom that cannot hear you. Because keep in mind, there are parents on both sides of this case who are of age, dear. They need to be able to hear you in the courtroom. So you're not considering your audience. Always a negative on my part, okay? You should have been standing in front of the mic, or you should have moved the mic, something. But if you make the decision to stand in front of the jury and speak to them only as if John O'Keefe's parents are not in the room, if Karen's parents are not in the room, all of those people are of age, sir. Very inconsiderate. So one of the first issues that I did have is that he was like, oh, well, Karen had drove like 35 feet away from John, and then she backed up 70 feet. Sir, what? How you drive away 35 feet and then back up 70 feet? That means she would have been all the way into that pole. Like, what, 70 feet, sir? Like, that math don't even... I really hope somebody in the jury is a math teacher or something. And they was like, 70 feet? I absolutely hope it's a math teacher on the jury, because that didn't even add up. She moved away 35 feet, but she backed up 70. Huh? But he was only at the corner of the street. How she back up 70 feet to hit him, sir? Okay. He bust out and said something I have never heard. He said that we can tell the temperature of the battery. How do you tell the temperature of a battery? I'm not a scientist. I'm not deep into science, as you can tell. I'm definitely it's not my forte, okay? I'm too cute for that one. Somebody let me know. How do you know the temperature of a battery, sir? Did you make that up on the spot? Because what? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. How do you tell the temperature of a battery? That sounded like some made up gibberish on the spot. It was real. It was giving real spontaneous information. And then I don't know if he was nervous or what, but he was jacking up timelines, because he was saying that she was still at the Albert's house at 12:34, even though we have evidence that she was connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at 12:36. How is she still at their house 2 minutes before she connects to Wi-Fi? And she's on camera on the way to his house. So how is she still at his house, at the Albert's house, 2 minutes before she's connected to the Wi-Fi? He was all over the place with this timeline. He was giving absolute random times that did not add up to the other evidence that has already been presented. So I don't know what about that. It was very confusing. It was like, wait a minute, like my notes completely are like, what time and what time? Because he gave absolutely brand new times. None of those times were provided previously. All over the place. Really trying to make that seem like the last interactions that John had with his phone were when Karen was still around, versus he possibly could have been in the house or things like that. That's what it sounded like, and that's what he gave, but that's not what the evidence has been provided previously indicates and proves. And then he said that they had Karen Reed on recording, like a video recording, saying that she hit John. Why we didn't see this video last time? Why we ain't seen this video in between time? Like, where did this video come from? Cause that if she said it, sir, that would be like you're smoking, you're smoking weapon, like, bam, here you go. She said it. You're like, even if you had to fix the audio and clean it up, it would still be, baby, it would blow you away. Okay, you should have used that previously. Somebody should have used it previously if it existed. Because even cleaning it up, even if I couldn't see her but I could hear her, her voice is distinct enough that I would be like, oh, that was Karen. Why you didn't do it then? And then they did kind of give us an indication that they were going to use audio from her interviews that she should never have done, and she really should stop talking to these people on the way into court. She should really just be like, advice to anybody else, be quiet, okay? Just be quiet. But he took that video out of context because she's talking to Alan Jackson in text message, and she is like, could I have done this? Could I have done that? And she's talking about hypotheticals. She is not saying I did this. I may have done that. She's not saying I did it. Like, these are things I possibly could have done. She's completely giving hypothetical, like, what if I did something, trying to figure out her memory of what happened. That's out of context. It has to be in context to have weight. You can't take it out of context and it still has weight. And then it was definitely speculated they had a fight in the SUV on the way to the Albert's house. I do believe they had that fight. But he was trying to say that she ended the fight by using the SUV to win. Have a seat. Have a seat. Don't just have a seat, okay? This is absolutely one of the reasons why I do not like opening statements. A mess, okay? Alan Jackson did a phenomenal job. His opening was so passionate. I absolutely love me an attorney that can show up and reel me in to whatever their feeling is about the case, and he did exactly that. He glued from the start to the finish. Absolutely amazing. It was masterpiece. Like, I could rewatch it again because he was very, very passionate about this case. And you can tell that. And when you can tell that somebody is passionate about their job, it's a win for me, okay? He passionate. So the first thing that was very important for me was he said, Michael Proctor, who was fired. You tell him, Alan, you tell him that man was fired. Thank you for starting with that. He got into that real quick. Yeah, that man was fired. All of this that we're dealing with is based on what he did, and he has now been fired. He talked about that text message that says, do you think Brian Albert will get any slack for this? Well, he said any shit for this. No. That definitely set the tone for this case. That was the first, one of the first things that was said was, do you think he'll get any, any kind of backlash for this case? No. That let us know. No. You didn't even try. No. And then he did go into the fact that Brian Albert didn't come out the house. I don't think any of the Alberts came outside, did they? They stayed inside, and that was always been weird to me, because it's no way, because the brain chemistry that you need to be a police officer needs to be nosy. It really needs to be nosy. You need to be able to investigate, and your brain needs to be like, what happened? And for you to just be like, I'm gonna stay in the house. That's my house. Like, y'all on my property, and you just gonna stay in the house? They got it. They done this before. It don't matter. This is my house. I'm not going to stay inside when somebody is outside injured. They could have stubbed a toe, and I still would have went out there, because a real homeowner knows they can sue you. They can go and put a good old claim on your good old insurance. I'm going out there to see what's going on. You saying I'm gonna stay in the house because they got it, because they professionals, you was off my list right there, because it's no way that you telling me I'm a police officer and something is going on outside of my house and I'm gonna stay in the house chilling. What's going on here? Everything all right? Y'all good? It's no way possible I'm staying my butt in the house, because your curiosity that should normally just be in your brain cell as a police officer, and you're on my home, you had multiple reasons to be outside trying to figure out what was going on. All right? Even if you came at the door and was like, y'all all right? Even if you didn't step all the way, you should have still been at the door talking about, what happened? What's going on? Something to indicate that she was concerned, alert, aware. Anything would have been appropriate besides what you did, okay? Don't do that again. One of the classic lines he said was, Michael Proctor said the quiet part out loud. He's a cop too. Very beautiful, very beautiful. He did. That was definitely the quiet part. He is a police officer as well. That's why he won't receive no backlash from this situation. That's why he kept his butt in the house, because he's a cop. Now, he called Michael Proctor the cancer of the case, and definitely can understand that, because you cannot, he's like, you can't just cut him away. You cannot just remove him from this case, because he's all in, up and through it. He's very entangled in this case, and that is why we are where we are, because of how intertwined and interconnected and just all up in it that he is why we have the issues that we have. Now, he states that the evidence will show that John went inside. I do believe that John did go inside, and he didn't go into detail why he was referencing that, but it's probably because of the stuff from the cell phone from Apple that indicates like the steps up and the steps down and all that. That's probably what he's going to be using to kind of prove that point later on. Now, he stated that the voicemails Karen left on John O'Keefe's cell phone were because he was supposed to be going inside the house and coming back out, and she was leaving the message because he didn't come out. And he stated that, John did not respond because he didn't want to respond to her. He didn't respond because he couldn't respond to her. And I may have missed this in the first trial, but he states that there is no evidence that John had any hypothermia, and he should have definitely had some hypothermia if he was out there from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning. He should have definitely had some hypothermia. And he said that there was no hypothermia at all, like on no part of his body. So I may have missed that the first trial, but he definitely did mention that, like, that should be a red flag. And if you've never watched a trial before, or you don't watch them a lot, you may miss that, you have to get the information as the attorneys are presenting it, and sometimes some of the stuff that they say, if it's not in evidence form, you may miss how they said it, and the way that they said it may be very important to the story. And so he kept saying stuff again, and he said, let me say that again. And I think that was very important. Let me make sure you have been brought into the moment of me saying what I'm saying, because I need you to hear it, and I don't want you to go back and be like, well, what did he say? Let me say it again, because I need you to hear this multiple times. Top tier. And then, of course, he did talk about the fact that John O'Keefe had no bruises on his body, because they're saying, the Commonwealth's case is that she hit him with this SUV, and you're gonna bruise when you get hit by a vehicle. Some people like me who bruise very easily, baby, I can hit the wall and I'm gonna have a bruise. So a vehicle hitting me, I'm gonna have some bruises. He didn't have any bruises. He do have these little scrapes that they saying is from this tail light and the defense is saying it's from dog bites, but he does not have any bruises. And your body is going to bruise on the inside out when you've been hit by an SUV. Or anything hard. And of course, he did talk about Brian Higgins going up to the Kenton PD. Why is you doing that in the middle of the night? He definitely talked about the both the Bryans having this phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, talking about it was a butt dial. Why is you up butt dialing, folks? Things of that. He definitely mentioned that Brian Albert got rid of the dog, rehomed the dog, got rid of the house, and got rid of them phones. Getting rid of stuff. Common thing. Getting rid of stuff was a common thing. Now, of course, he talked about this good old tail light, because it's one of the stars of the show. Talking about how Michael Proctor lied about when he actually got, you know, custody of the SUV, and he definitely didn't want us to know that he got a hold of that SUV before any of those pieces of that tail light was found, because all 50,000 of them pieces were found on that lawn after it had been searched multiple times randomly. But he just miraculously had the SUV and didn't tell nobody when he had it. Why, sir? Why? And back to the point of saying something in a way that makes the story, you know, just juicy is the best way to say. He said that, you know, oh, well, they found, you know, John O'Keefe's DNA on the SUV, but they did not find his DNA on any of those pieces of that tail light that was all over the place, but they found his DNA on the actual SUV and not the parts that should have really been DNA on it, because they're trying to say that those, you know, marks on his arm came from that tail light, but there's no DNA on those pieces. Important. And he also stated that there was DNA on John O'Keefe's tennis shoes, that it was 5 different males' DNA on his tennis shoes. Why would there be 5 different men's DNA on your tennis shoes? Even if there's no reason why. I can't even try and find one. I wanted to find one, but I couldn't. There's no reason why their DNA should be on your shoes. Why is other people touching your shoes? I can't find one. I'm going to have to marinate on that. I can't find one. I really wanted to try. But why? There should be no... Why? And then, of course, he definitely mentioned, you know, the medical examiner that the Commonwealth hired will not. Like, she completely refuses to say this was a homicide. So how can you say it is if she cannot? Because normally, you know, we go off of the medical examiner's, you know, statements, and she's saying I can't say this was a homicide. Very telling. So we've had a very interesting start so far. Timothy Nutter was the first witness that the Commonwealth called to the stand. He's a fireman and a paramedic. Where they live, they have to be both. Now, he is the person that they were trying to bring in this video footage of her stating, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And there was no audio of her saying that. He is showing where he was at the moment that he heard her, and that's why they brought this clip in. Diabolical. Don't tell me you got a video or something, and you gonna tell me, oh, this is where I was at, and this is where she was at when she said it. I want to hear it. Don't be telling me what she said. Let me hear it. Them misleading us, thinking that, oh, magically we can hear her say it. Dismissed. He stated that he asked, do y'all know him? And that's when she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. When he is asking the question, do y'all know him? That's when she said it. Sir. And in the clip that they showed, it is very clear that Karen is running around. She is distressed. She is discombobulated. And Jen is just like, this is your friend. Something is wrong with him. Like, why are we not, oh my God, like, why are we not at least a little bit of a half step, you know, worried about our friend? He's over there laying, and they are doing CPR. They're trying to, you know, figure out what's going on, and you're just calm. It's no way possible. It's absolutely no way possible. You could have been a stranger to me, and I still would have been more worried about you than Jen looked like she was about John. That bothered my spirit. And so then Alan Jackson did his cross, and one of the main things was, you know, well, the first time when you talked about this, she said I hit him twice. But now you're saying that she said it 3 times. So was it 2 times or 3 times that you heard her say I hit him? Oh, well, I misspoke then. It was 3 times. Now it's 3 times. Now your memory is coming back. He did go off on him a couple of times by saying, so your memory get better as time goes on versus when it originally happened. Your memory starts getting better. So he kept making the statement, as time goes on, your memory gets better. He did make that statement several times. He did call him out several times. We know I love that. We know I love that. And then, of course, he did point out to him. So the video that we had watched, you said when the other paramedic was giving John CPR is when you heard her say that, you know, I hit him. And that's not when she would have said it, because she was nowhere near you when you're saying that happened. Because you can see in the video that he is walking over to do CPR, and he's like, she wasn't nowhere near you. She like walked away. So how did she say that, you know, in your earshot? If that she said that, how did you hear that if she wasn't nowhere near you, sir? He started getting flustered. He was getting very flustered on the stand. He wasn't ready for Alan Jackson today. He wasn't ready for this Alan Jackson today. He was getting real flustered, and it was very obvious. He was doing that number. Now, this is also the person that said that John was dressed appropriately for the weather, even though he was not. Talking about he had on that puffer jacket, and he was like, well, a puffer jacket would have been very obvious the way that it looks and everything. He was like, well, yeah. So he definitely misstates things on the stand. He does. That will be him. And then Alan Jackson went on to say, well, in, you know, one of your statements to Michael Proctor, you stated that you heard her saying it to a woman that she hit him. Do you remember saying that? And he was like, no, I don't remember saying that. Then he gives him his testimony and says, you know, do you want to read over that? He reads it and says, well, do you remember now? No, I still don't remember that. Oh, okay, sir. So you told him in one of your original statements that you heard her say that, but she said it to a woman, versus you telling us now that you heard her say it in direct, you know, response to a question you asked of, do y'all know him? Okay, no problem, sir. We absolutely believe you. We absolutely believe you. So then Hank comes right back on back to the stand and does his redirect, trying to say, did you hear anybody else saying they heard her say that? And defense wasn't having it, and Auntie Bev wasn't having it. So they was like, no, you can't. No, they had a whole sidebar and everything, because he kept trying to reword it, but it was still the same question, and it was a no-go. She didn't allow it. The defense wasn't allowing it. Hearsay. We can't. Nobody else can tell you if they heard her say it. So y'all can corroborate what y'all heard. Your ears are your ears, and their ears are their ears. It's gonna be a no. It's gonna be a no. On Alan Jackson's re-examination, he kind of went directly into it by saying, you know, well, in the video, you are here and she is here. How are you saying that she said it here? And he acted like he was asking him a question that was like in a foreign language. And he was like, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't get it. He was like, is that complicated? You are standing right here and she is standing over there, but you heard her? How would you hear her? Because you said when she said it that he was doing CPR on her, but y'all not next to each other. So how did you hear it? That's not the clip that he showed me. What, sir? That is the clip that he showed. Breenan showed the clip originally, and then Alan Jackson showed the clip in his cross-examination. And when they're back up doing their re-cross and redirects, they're just talking about the video that they had already both showed to you twice. So you don't remember the video you done seen twice now? Make that make sense, sir. Make it make sense. Because you done saw it twice on direct and then on cross. And now on recross, you act like you don't know what video was shown? We confused, sir. We confused. When they were still going back and forth. They came back again. And so Auntie Bev was like, do y'all have any additional questions? And the defense was like, well, yeah, he rolled his eyes, so he was over them. He knew he got flamed up there on that stand. He was ready to get off of that stand because he had messed up several times, but he rolled his eyes when he was like, yeah, I just have like one question. And Alan Jackson's last question was, did you ever testify that you heard her say that in the background, that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, because he said that she said it multiple times. So he was like, well, did you ever testify that you heard her say it in the background? Because he was trying to cover up the fact that on that footage, he was nowhere near her when he said it happened. So he was trying to clean it up. He's like, I don't recall. Of course you don't. Of course you don't. We don't recall either, sir. We don't recall either. It was a very interesting first witness. They are going out of order from last year. I haven't figured out why this strategy is the way it is yet, but we're gonna keep going. So this was the first witness that is complete on the stand for the Commonwealth's case. So the Commonwealth's second witness on the stand was Carrie Roberts. Yeah, I don't know why she was a second witness. Confused. Me, I'm very confused. But before she got on the stand, they played a clip from one of these interviews that Karen Reed did, and it didn't go with the testimony that we received. It gave very intermission commercial break. I don't know why they did that. It was weird. I've never seen that done before in the case, where we're showing random clips before somebody gets on the stand. We got commercial breaks now? It was very confusing. I don't know why Auntie Bev allowed that. I mean, the clips have to be purposeful, and it was not purposeful. It was just a random clip, and she was talking about, like, when she was seeing herself on camera driving around, and she's like, you know, going through lights instead of stopping. She, like, you can tell she just put her foot over the brake. Why would we need to see that? It didn't go with her testimony. It didn't go with the testimony of the first witness. It really gave intermission. I didn't like it. So she went over how she knew John and that they were good friends. They went to high school together. And she talked about how she helped out with the kids, how he helped out with her kids, and just the dynamic of their relationship. Of course, she just went over that again. And then she stated that Karen called her and told her that John was no longer here, meaning like he had passed away. And she was like, he didn't come home. He wouldn't do that. You know, that's not normal. I need to go look for him. And she was like, well, he's probably just laid up on somebody's couch. Like, don't worry about it. But you need to get home before you get a DUI. She told her, you know, go home because Kaylee can't handle this by herself. Like, she was trying to make her go home. And she was like, no, I want to go look for him. If I come to your house, will you drive so we can go look for him? And she was like, fine, that's fine. Just come here, because she wanted her off the road. And she said she got up to get ready, and she turned the car on with the push button so it could warm up, even though she said she was going to get in Karen's vehicle and drive. And then she said she sat in the car waiting for her. She doesn't know how they got back on the phone with each other. She doesn't remember if she called her or Karen called her back, but they somehow ended up on the phone, and she was like, oh, I'm at Jen's house. Just come over to Jen's house. So she goes to Jen's house, even though she was trying to say she didn't really know Jen like that, but she went to Jen's house. It's not adding up. And somehow in their conversation, she says that Karen said that John may have gotten hit by a plow. She didn't seem nervous at this time. Like, you're telling me, you first called me and tell me that my friend is gone to glory, and then you're saying that he got hit by a plow, but I'm just telling you to go home. What? It didn't, the energy that a friend would have, you know, when you're saying something, even if you were just like, something is not right because he's not home, like your conversation, the way you say things will indicate that you are worried about your friend. And she didn't give worried about her friend. Like, this wasn't normal behavior. Like, nobody has ever said this was normal behavior for him where he just didn't come home, or we're calling him and he's not answering the phone. That didn't seem like that was his character. So why are you not like, what's going on with my friend? Like, even if you're not worried they're not okay, but you would still be like, this isn't my friend. What's going on with my friend? Because if I call my friend, they're going to answer the phone. Like, you just know your friend. Like, you know when they're not acting like they normally act. Like, they're who they are as a person. If it's different, you kind of like, what's going on? Like, you are just alarmed a little bit because you know how somebody normally acts in situations. She didn't give that energy. Now, when she was in the car with them, they had made a call, several different calls, like looking around for John. And in that call, she was like, you know, no, he normally doesn't not come home. He always comes home. That would make you be alarmed, right? Because this is not normal behavior. Now, when she pulled up to Jen's house, she said that is when she noticed that the tail light was missing a piece at Jen's house on Karen's SUV. That is when she noticed it, when she is pulling up to Jen's house so they can go follow over to John's house to look for him, because that was the decision that they made, is maybe he was at the house, because Karen said that she did not search the house. Even though she came from the house, she would have heard that man come in the house, okay? She would have heard her man come in the house. But they felt like they should just search the house. So they went back to John's house to search the house, because Karen said she did not search it. And the way she knew that the tail light was messed up is because she saw it when she pulled up to Jen's house to follow them to John's house. Now, the plan leaving John's house was to go to Meadows and then go to Fairview. Breenan was talking about going to Fairview. He was saying Meadows. And Carrie was like, you mean to Fairview? He didn't even have his questions lined up to say where she was going correctly, that she had to stop and correct him because he was talking about the wrong street. And she was like, you mean to Fairview? Because she was asking, or she was responding to the questions, because she didn't know he was talking about Fairview, but he was stating to Meadows instead of to Fairview. And she paused and corrected him because he was all over the place, like he was in that opening, okay? He was all over the place. He was asking her about the conditions on the road, and she was like, oh, well, I was white knuckling it because it was pretty bad out. I've never heard that term. I'm going to have to look it up because I did find it quite interesting. What the heck is white knuckling it? You was white knuckling. What that mean? You was just blindly driving, ma'am? So you was risking everybody's life because you was white? What does that mean? I'm going to have to look that up. Now, she states that on the way to Fairview, somehow, randomly, they start talking about Bella's mom. Ma'am, what? And she says that Karen said, oh, well, she never liked me. Why, in the midst of looking for John, would y'all start talking about Bella's mom? How would that come up in conversation? We are in the middle of looking for him. She is in the back, frantic as all outdoors. And y'all randomly start talking about Bella's mom? Ma'am, what? So, of course, the defense objected to this because they was like, what the heck? Why would that even... That didn't even make sense that it was said. It was not said in the first trial that was something they randomly started talking about. So they was like, what? Auntie Beth allowed it. She said, I'm allow it. And they moved on. But I don't remember them talking about no Bella's mama. But it don't make sense in the conversation. We are in the midst of looking for somebody that is not responding to us. This is not normal behavior for him. And we randomly going to start talking about Bella's mom. And she was like, oh, well, it was because she lived close by where, you know, the Alberts live. It would have still not been appropriate in the conversation. It didn't add up. And so when they pull up and Karen is like, oh my God, there he is. And she gets out, she says that she looks at Jen and says she's crazy. I really want to know how Karen looked at her when she said that. I really do. Because I would have looked her up and down. I'm crazy. Because I know my man enough that I see him in the snow. I'm crazy now. But I know she looked at her like, because I would have looked her up and down. Don't be calling me crazy. Because that's my man. But they did not finish direct examination on her. Because y'all know Auntie Bev likes to get out and go home. So they are going to finish direct tomorrow. And then we'll have cross-examination tomorrow for her. So they did their openings. And they had 2 witnesses on the stand for day 1. Day 1 was very interesting. These openings, we had a very bad one. We had a really great one. And then we've had 2 witnesses on the stand. And their testimonies are already different from last year. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. It's going to be real interesting. Let me know in the comments how we are feeling about day 1.